welcome. I'm Sarah, the voice that opens each episode of You're Probably Right. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you found us. This show is built on real experiences and honest reflection. Nothing rushed, nothing performative, just conversations meant to meet you where you are. In a moment, you'll hear from MCM, the voice behind this space. Each episode comes from lived experience and thoughtful insight, not trends or quick takes. So get a drink, fluff your pillow, or just press pause on the outside noise.
How you doing, y'all? This is MCM, and you are listening to You're Probably Right podcast. I have an interesting one for you guys today. I just like to let you know, right off the bat, guys, this one especially, but every episode of You're Probably Right is for entertainment purposes only. Got 20 questions to answer. Now, these are the questions that, let's just call it the questions you answer when nobody is listening. So basically, it's questions you never answer. Well, it depends, because sometimes the questions can be the same, but how are you going to answer? Many of us know the textbook politically correct answer in most cases. And I guess politically correct is kind of a term that they don't really use anymore, because your politics might be utter trash to me for whatever reason, and it might go vice versa. And I don't know, sometimes it seems like these days what used to be a no-brainer, at least in my youth, are no longer that way anymore, because they've taken certain core values that most of, let's say, Western society used to go by, and they pretty much picked it up and flipped it over and turned it upside down on one side, and the other side still tries to hold to those same beliefs, and some are even a little bit farther to the side, away from what the other people think. And saying all that to say, I'm going to do my best to answer these questions in ways that many people think, but in most cases wouldn't really admit to. All right, here we go. By the way, I got my coffee here, so if you hear me sipping, I try not to slurp it. Probably still heard it go down my throat. I like my coffee hot, otherwise I wouldn't even say anything, because I'd be sipping when it's cold. But anyhow, so whatever you're doing, whether you're washing dishes, folding laundry, shoveling the snow, I don't know, salting a pathway, washing the car, cutting the lawn, washing the windows, balancing books, thinking of other things to talk about on your podcast. Whatever you came here to do, I hope you have a good time. I'm going to get right into it. There are some relationship questions you can answer in public. And some questions you only answer when nobody's listening. Not because you're trying to be fake. You're not trying to be fake. We know. But because the truth is complicated, they say, right? And most people do not have the patience for nuance when listening to your answers, I would say. And if you've ever been stuck in an unhealthy attachment, mixed signals, or that strange place where you are trying to keep access to someone who is not really choosing you, then you already know what I mean. You can feel the pattern, but you still find yourself hoping. You can see the signs, but you find yourself negotiating with yourself. So this episode is a Q&A special, of course. 20 questions that are meant to expose the hidden parts of relationships, or maybe just me. The power dynamic nobody wants to admit. The fear that makes people shrink. The little bargains people make from warmth, intimacy, reassurance, and control. One disclaimer before we start, though. None of these are hard, fast rules from any moral book necessarily. It's just me shooting the stuff. You hear me? There are gray areas. People have history. People have wounds. But patterns still matter. And if you answer these questions honestly, you will stop lying to yourself, first of all, which is the first step to getting out of an unhealthy attachment. How to listen to this. For each question, answer it in your head before you answer it out loud. If you want the full effect, pause and actually say your answer. This episode is meant to be entertaining, but it is also meant to change how you move. Now, I'm not trying to encourage how what was it Chappelle show? What was it? How keeping it real goes wrong. Yeah, I think that's something like that. All right. We're only at 7 minutes. I think I can do this quick work right here. Let's see. First question. I got a cough now. Oh my goodness. What is one thing you keep pretending to notice? Pretending you keep pretending not to notice because noticing it would force you to make a decision. In my experience, I would say the disrespect. I think sometimes in our hearts, when we're in such a sensitive world nowadays that certain things, again, once would be called disrespect, is now just people making choices. And I have my choice to do this, and I have my choice to say that or claim this, go here, go there, go into this room, go into that room, just because they desire to. Just because some of them need to, they would say. But I think, yeah, I can't really say the exact things, honestly, but when you kind of glaze over something that if somebody had a normal conversation with you, you'd be like, nope, that's where it ends, and there's no way it can be farther than this. And if somebody said something like that to me, then I'd be out of here. But maybe because of an attachment, maybe because of your investment, your emotional investment, or what other investments you have into the person, you can sometimes get in situations where you're just bending over. You're just, yeah, okay, it's okay, no problem. Or, okay, that was interesting. And you just kind of note it away. Whereas before you would kind of put your thumb on it and say, approach the person and say, this happened. I've told you how I am, and this is how I like to live my life. And if you're going to be a part of it, then you have to understand that what you did there, right there, that thing that you said or that thing that you did crosses boundaries. And the question is whether or not you have the guts to say, I'm finished, or if you can explain to me and come correct as to why this happened. Yeah, something stern like that. All right. I know what y'all think about that one. Okay, number 2. When did you first start editing yourself, and what were you afraid of? Or what were you afraid would happen if you didn't? Well, obviously, I answer that. Well, I'm not gonna answer it backwards. It's okay. Um, when I think once I started placing value, like, I think everybody has their criteria, right? Their rating system, even if they might not say it's 1 to 10, right? Maybe it's 1 to 17, right? 1 to 17 backwards. And the higher your number, the worse you are. Um, I think when, you can feel maybe the weight of what this person is in your life. And because you see the weight of what this person is in your life, could be in your life, or you desire for them to be in your life, you try to coddle the situation. You try to do things to help the situation. You're no longer just allowing you to be you and them to be them. Now you have decided that you need to maybe not say something as loudly as you'd say it before, maybe not be so stern on something you were before. Maybe you would choose to align yourself with something that you know that they align themselves. In other words, just editing away from who you are and moving more over to what you think they would like you to say. And that's generally when that's what happens. That's the kind of thing that happens. But I think it's once you've placed a lot of importance on this person, and maybe you don't even recognize when it happens, but it's a feeling, and it's like there's almost like a pin or a prick that lets you know you're going past where you should be going on the with this person, because they have so much value that it's like you have to edit yourself to keep them around. No matter what you think you are, who you think you are, this person is so important that you don't measure up, and therefore you can snip this and snip that out of your your vocabulary, your character, your person. And the reason why, or what I'd be afraid of, would be this person would devalue you because of your stance and move you one step closer to living life without them, is the easiest way. Okay. Next, number 3. What do you call love that might actually be relief from loneliness? I think love, um, which is probably relief from loneliness, is maybe if you're alone and someone finally takes interest in you, you finally take interest in them. And, or not really finally, but it's like maybe there hasn't been anything happening. And then you decide to make something happen, and things are actually happening. You're like, whoa, things are happening. And I think you just get so much exhilaration Whatever charges that a normal person would have in a normal relationship, a normal secure attachment. um, Sometimes when you're lonely and people are far and few between in your life because you're lonely, obviously, you treat every interaction, as an important, um, important interaction with every individual that you come into contact with because there's so few, possibly. Because there are different types of loneliness. I know people who are around, say, um, 700, 1,000 people every day, like around people, constantly having conversations, but it's all business, it's all institutional. So you're not going to be expressing how you really feel about something that's bothering you right now. You're just going to kind of keep it surface level. And if you have that situation and something that looks or has the makings or the beginnings or the building blocks of something that you would call your best case scenario in a relationship, then you're going to place a lot of value just automatically. Chemically, you're going to place a lot of value in that attachment, and therefore it might just be relief from loneliness, and therefore it might not even be all. Maybe in normal circumstances it wouldn't even be at all. Maybe that person wouldn't even be that that thing that you have them at, that pedestal that you have them on. Maybe they wouldn't even be able to hold the bottom of it, but for whatever reason, which probably loneliness here, um you've decided to lower your standards to just have a sense of a feeling of life outside of yourself. Who knows? Number 4. What is the difference between fighting for a relationship and auditioning for basic respect? Well, I don't believe you can fight for a relationship by yourself. So first of all, if it's two people fighting, um, then that's fighting. A relationship, it has to be two people. It takes two to tango, right? If if only one person is fighting, the other person's not fighting, then you're just one person causing pressure for the other person to feel what they're doing and pretty much go along with what they're doing. And the other person's not fighting, so that's not a fight. That's just a bullying session, I guess. But the difference between fighting and fighting for a relationship and auditioning for basic respect is that you're in a relationship, you want to be in the relationship, so you're constantly doing things to prove to the other person that you are worthy of being in a relationship like that with them. And therefore abasing yourself, lowering yourself so much so that it's obvious, at least to them, that certain things that they would probably not normally do or say to you, about you, in front of others, who knows? Um, like, who knows? It's just they could be doing things that are like, are just like, you're just an afterthought. But for some reason, you're so tangled up in this connection that you're definitely not seeing it, and their value is so much higher than the feeling that you have of disrespect, I guess. Number 5. What is the most honest reason people tolerate being undervalued? Fear, pride, guilt, comfort, money, loneliness, or lack of options? There's a few. being most honest, I think fair. It's always fair. It's not necessarily pride because not everybody has that in them in the first place. That they're just kind of like, whatever. It's okay. I don't have to dominate everything. I don't have to be the ruler of everything. I'm not the most special all the time. Um, and I don't think it's guilt because I mean, every once in a while I would say society tries to throw these guilt trips on people in various ways. And I think people are more logical in the on the average to be just thrown down with guilt to make you like allow you to be undervalued by somebody. But I know there are people who have been pushed down by very special people in their lives and were constantly spoken to in a very negative manner, and therefore they have like these various mantras ringing in their head about what they're worth and who they are and who they're not and the condition of them, and therefore they believe that about themselves. So it could be guilt, but I think it's misplaced guilt. And for comfort, yes, but at the same time, it's not going to be very comfortable. They'll have the highs and lows, and it's probably better than just having all lows, I guess they believe that they'll have, right? Money, for certain. I mean, just look at society. Some of the craziest things you've ever seen in your life, besides accidents, are the things that people have been willing to do for money, for more money than usual. I think that's what's going to cause the next thing when it comes to Middle East and say Western America or Northern America. North America. I was saying Western society, Western America. Yeah, in Western society, I think that, and just to go off a little bit here, um, apparently there's been all kinds of amazing big shows happening in short spans of time for a lot more money than people can get anywhere is in like I think Dubai, one of those places where these guys can spend millions and millions. I think a few comedians were being roasted a little bit or tried to be canceled, I guess, because they went to the Middle East to do comedy or whatever the case was. But when they found out, or somebody was interviewing one of them and said, "How much did you get to do your comedy show down there?" And the person was talking like 5, 6, 7, 8 million for an hour's work or something like that. And it's like these guys have that much money. People think about the power of North America or power of the United States or whatever it is like that. I don't think that power that they had, because money talks at the end of the day. Currency talks, at least. um I don't think the Americans have it like that anymore, to tell you the truth. I think that money that they're throwing around for all those different celebrity or semi-celebrity pro fights and YouTuber fights and old beans coming out of the woodworks to get another fight to get a huge, huge, huge payday that sometimes was bigger than any pay they had in their regular career. I think money is going to be how people from other countries are going to get people from, say, America to not buy into, but be paid. Basically, I don't know. I think just I'm just kind of riffing a little bit, but I think that maybe people will be paid for their allegiance when it comes to belief systems and their politics and stuff like that, or maybe their taxes will be upheld or their pensions will be upheld, but not by, say, America can't somehow pay all of the pensions or whatever it is like that, And then some country just slides in and says, you know what, we'll honor all of your pensions in our currency and give you a good life. And as long as you kind of pledge your allegiance to what we're doing over here, away from the American way of things, then everything's fine for you. And I think the amount of money because of oil, I think, and all that, whatever goes down there, um, their money's just better. I think that's the big change from I think North America has realized that, and I think that's where the electric cars and all that stuff come in. But anyhow, that's just my 2 cents. But anyway, it definitely could be money. The point is, it could be money because um, again, people do anything for money, pretty much. Um, Out of loneliness, yeah. If they don't think that they can do better, they finally caught somebody in their web. And they don't want to let them go because they don't know the next time anybody else is gonna pass by. Just being honest. Um, and lack of options goes with the loneliness, right? I think it's definitely overall fear, but the fear can be so many different things. But I think fear and in including a lack of options. Not even loneliness. Loneliness would be after that one. I think the belief that you don't have very many options is what has people settle. And that's why I think you hear a lot of people saying they don't want to settle, but it's like, I think the fact that you have to state that you don't want to settle shows me that you believe that you actually have to settle, but you're trying not to, but you have to. And it's kind of funny that people I would honestly pay attention to a person that says, I don't want to settle, because for them to have to answer, it's like, if they say, I don't want to settle, it's like somebody said, well, you have to settle. And it's like they had to verbally say that to you and you didn't even say it to them, showing me that it's like a mantra. It's like it's like a little speaker or a little something on their shoulder telling them you have to settle. And they're going kicking and screaming pretty much. What boundary have you avoided setting because you feared the answer you would get? I think the boundary that every person sets when they're in like some, not even a tumultuous, but just hot and cold, non-existent breadcrumbing type of situation, almost a ship, but not quite, not quite. I think the boundary that everybody sets is, and it's kind of weird because it's more of an ultimatum, right? It's like, if this doesn't change, I'm gone. I think that's the boundary. For whatever it is. But like any specific, like any, like maybe a contact thing. Maybe it's like, I've never said, you have to be in contact with me every 5 hours or less, or you know what I mean? Like nothing crazy like that. I don't know. I think sometimes you just feel that there's a lot of little different things that you would normally, in a normal situation, put up, but when you're afraid of losing someone who is maybe avoidant or not very romantic, no, not very, I'm not sure what the word is, but I think when you're in a situation with a person like that and somehow they've tricked you into believing that their value is so much higher than yours, you're just off on a ride. So I think there's a lot of boundaries I can't think of right now this second, but I think definitely sometimes there are certain things that would cause you in a normal situation to end the relationship. And I think where you would just basically tell a person like it is and bounce, or maybe not even answer their call again, where you're doing those things that you wouldn't normally do, pretty much. And I think those are the boundaries, the what you do boundaries, your actions, not like I don't like to do this, I don't like to do that. Like I think when it happens and it's maybe not a regular situation, normally you'd know what you would do, but in this case, and you're bending over and kind of, okay, let you sidestep it a little bit and allow it because this person has too much value. Um, what does your nervous system seem addicted to? The person, the attention, the intimacy, the relief, or the fantasy? Mm, I think the intimacy and the fantasy, and the intimacy may not even necessarily be the like sexual or whatever it is like that. Maybe the fantasy could be, but just you know, depending on your life situation, depending on how many things and how many maybe even horrible things that you've been through, um, maybe you've lost a very close person to you. Maybe a relationship ended, and maybe it ended with someone who was your heart and soul. You felt like, or they just know everything about you, and it's not very easy if you're not a person who has a lot of intimate friends. You're not a person who has a lot of people around you that have and know your history. That is so important for a lot of people, is to have the when you start losing, I think this is what I was trying to figure out the other day. When you start losing the people who have most of your life's history out of your life, it causes you to clamor and scrounge and scrape to not replace them, but to fortify. And I think you give more importance to regular situations, like whenever somebody seems to pass a certain level of intimacy with you. It's like you want to make them part of that, because it's like that's what makes you feel alive, is having those people. That's why, people say that, they're a loner, or people talk about no man is an island. It's like you realize that you need you need other people even to make an island. You need a buffer zone. You need others that hold you so you don't float away, you know? And the more of those rooted people that have known you for well and for a long time, when those people start to go, I think you start to place a lot more importance on connections, a lot more on communicating, a lot more on talking. I think an extreme, I don't feel you understand what I mean already, but extreme, I'm just thinking of the seniors that you see in a mall. All the young people have places to go, people to see. They're on their phones, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're focused, they know exactly where they're going. And then if you hang out in a mall long enough, or you go, or you don't even have to be that long, you just end up in a line with a senior citizen, and you'll find out that they're more willing to talk and have conversations than they probably would have 20, 30 years ago. And they realize, I think it's like you get older, it's like you realize something within you, that you need to scrounge for every meaningful interaction. Well, that's obviously later, but every meaningful relationship that you can have, you really want to exercise everything to the fullest if things are right. Because there's going to be so fewer times than that things are going to actually be right. Just with time, right? Um, yeah, intimacy, the relief, yeah, fantasy. Um, if intimacy disappeared for a month, what would be left? And would you still feel chosen? And I think that's a good question. And somehow I don't know. Like you're in a long term, hopefully a marriage. Um, that disappears for a month. That is a long time. Without like intimate connection, like barring injury, operation, um, something's not right if that's where you're at in most healthy relationships. Of course, age could be a factor, but I don't know. That's a long time. I think once you're dealing with those things, month, 2, 3 months, or just yeah, once it's kind of non-existent, and somebody will be on edge, wondering if it's even going to happen. Because I'm sure when it's once, let's just say once a month, there's going to be times when you're going to miss that month because something happens. It turns into 2 and 3. So, yeah. And what would be left? You definitely wouldn't feel chosen. But hopefully you like the person. You know what I mean? You can love someone. You could bend over backwards for someone and cater to someone and rescue and save and protect someone. But through all that other stuff that you're doing, if you want something, if something to be there, you have to like the person. And if you really, really like your wife, partner, um, I think it just makes everything so much better. When of course things are going good. Let's see where we at. What is the clearest sign that someone wants access to you, but not responsibility to you? Um, the clearest sign is they'll do stuff that you would normally do, whatever that is, with an intimate partner, or a wife or a husband, and they'll just try to pull those things on you, whatever they are. Do those things. It could be anything. Trust me. Um, within reason, I suppose. But they try to do those things, and it's more of an action. It's not a speak to you thing. It's some type of they do this some sort of a clear action that would only be reserved for a very intimate, close, emotional, set in stone what type of relationship this is, partner thing, and they'll just try to get them off when they feel like it, and therefore maybe they can compartmentalize some of those behaviors where other people can't compartmentalize those situations. And when those situations, those acts, those things happen, it draws them closer, whereas that person, it might not necessarily draw them closer, but they like the feeling too. So they want to see if they can pull it off without the responsibility after. So usually it's draw you in really, really, really close, as intimate as you could possibly be, and then kick you away from them. Yeah. And if you don't have the guts to just leave and say, sorry, I'm done, um, you'll probably enter the cycle basically. If you don't step out of the cycle, if you don't step out of the circle, you're in the circle. So the things are going to be happening regularly to you because you're in the cycle. You're in the circle. And until you can step out of it, there's certain things in your life that you're not going to very well control very well. Yeah. 10. What do you do that rewards mixed signals even while you complain about them? You allow them. Um, and you ignore them, because a mixed signal, all that means is there's conflict. Mixed makes it sound like everything is it when you say something's a mixture, It sounds like things that were different are put together and therefore they're in some kind of harmony, right? You could think of like something mixing in a bowl, all swirling in one direction. That's not so bad. It's saying mixed signal, so it sounds positive. But really, what it is it's confusion, right? So now think of all those different things that are being jammed together, but going in different directions. And that's what mixed signals are. Mixed signals are confusion signals. They don't know this side, they don't know that side. They don't know if they want this, they don't know if they want that. They don't know if they want you or if they want you to they want the other person. Like there's there's things that are going to happen in that relationship that wouldn't be normal, that wouldn't be cohesive with a normal relationship and normal feelings of endearment and love and all those other things, because there'll be one time today they'll feel like this and tomorrow they'll feel like that, or about this they feel this way and about that they feel this way, and things are just not going to be going nicely, like a mixture. um and therefore, you'll go through those things and you'll just complain about them because you don't like it, but you probably won't even be complaining to them, probably complain to somebody else or nobody else. You just kind of bite your tongue and complain to yourself in the shower or whatever. I don't know, wherever you complain. 11. What is the difference between peace and silence? And which one are you actually living in? I think peace is chosen. That means everything might not be perfect, but you take the good with the bad, you roll with the punches and all that other good stuff that people say. Whereas silence is, got nothing else to say and I'm just over here. Actually, I guess both can be chosen. I'd say I'm more in the silence area. I'm not trying to evoke peace for what, right? In general, like, I'm just living my life. And if it makes sense for me to speak to somebody, I will. If it doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to. I choose silence over chasing any day. Chasing gets boring when you can't catch the the target. Think about it. When you're a kid, and let's just say, I don't know, let's just say you're playing tag, and out of maybe there's 9 of you, and out of the 9 kids, there's at least 3 that you can get anytime you want, and probably 2 or 3 more you can get if you really sneak up on them and are really tactical with it. You know what I mean? But the worst thing, and what will have somebody quit, is when they're reaching for someone or something and they know there's no way on this earth they're going to be able to catch them. So I don't know, at the end of the day, I guess I think it's silence is the serious one. You've made up your mind, you go along with it and just live your life. No chasing. When you say you are being patient, are you being patient or are you avoiding the truth? I think for me, I would be honestly being patient. I think sometimes when you're being patient, you probably know the truth, but people have been built up on hopes for so long in so many different cultures and so many different ways and so many different ways of knowing the world. And sometimes they hope against hope. Like, you know there's no hope, but you're still hoping against it anyway. It's like, so when is the last time a girl ever treated you this way and actually ended up being your long-term girlfriend? And they'd be like, yeah, ask 100 guys. And they'll be like, well, two of them. So then the guy sits there and listening to the fact that 98 guys say that that's never happened to them and two guys did. And then the guy, he turns to him and said, so how would you like to bet your life that this might work for you? Well, you said two of them were successful, right? So what I hear you saying is there's a chance, right? Anyhow, what is one way you've tried to earn love instead of choosing love? Um, One way. I think I've tried to work it. Work it. That sounds crazy. I think I've tried to do like gifts of service for it. I trying to make life um easy for a person, you know? As a guy, you try to cook, you try to clean, you do laundry, you you're making breakfast, you're making lunches, you're making dinners, you're doing all that yourself, and then all of the laundry and um all of the yard work and the responsibility for dealing with car stuff or whatever stuff that maybe in normal situations somebody would just deal with for themselves, but you try to make everything so much easier. Definitely that's one way. And then of course there's the gift things, right? Where you go overboard, you know. You got money coming, maybe $2,000 coming, and you know you could use the money because you need to do a few different things, but the person tells you that they're in a rough spot, and then you just said, oh, here you go, and you give them the whole 2,000. Meanwhile, your stuff would have cost you about 2,600, and you're still low, and you still gave away everything. Those types of overgiving, for certain. Um, so definitely that's the way that I've tried to earn love. You'll say you'll the funny thing is, sometimes we'll say, there's nothing attached here, but the attachment is you're giving to the person because of how you value the person at the end of the day. And not that the thing that you gave them expresses the value of the person, but the great lengths or the great amount that it costs you. You know what I mean? Like if something costs $6 and you only have seven and you go and you buy it, then obviously whatever it is that you got that took away the the, that amount of what you had shows your value, shows how much you care about the thing or the person. What is the moment you realized you were becoming a roommate, an option, or a background character in your own relationship? Um, well, I don't know that I became a roommate, but you can definitely see it happening where it's like, you've seen married couples and they seem really close, but at the same time, they give off like brother and sister vibes. It's like they just coexisting in a spot. Everything they do is for the betterment of the team, the two of them, or maybe they have kids. I don't know, but in most cases they don't. But I don't know. You just, but all of the risque, sensual desire, probably some of the jokes probably disappear, maybe not. Um, but they lose a little bit of that stuff. When all that stuff's gone, if you have the roommate stuff down packed and everything's good that way, and you also somehow are able to spark that other stuff, then you got something. But just to have either by themselves, like just lust or just friendship, nah, man. Where is the line between generosity and bargaining, and how do you know you crossed it? Um, when you're just overgiving, like just look at something that you've given. You can weigh it against, have you ever done this for anybody? But you might not have got around, so you might not have done a lot of things for a lot of different people. But when you look at something that you've given, in a ridiculous, like, um, I was gonna say something stupid. Um, yeah, just something that you spent a lot on, something that or given a lot of, that there is no normal situation like the what your situation is. There is no way in anybody's logical intellect or mind state or frame would say that you should have done this for whatever it is. I don't know what that thing is, but yeah. So that's when I think when you're doing things over and above like that, you're just bargaining. You're just trying to suck the person back in, trying to be transactional in some sort of way. They don't have a feeling for you, but you're trying to see if you can somehow bargain it into the situation. You can just, come on, just exude that you love me somehow by seeing me do this thing or give you this thing over here. It's not going to happen. What is the most manipulative thing you have done in a relationship, even if you did not intend it that way? I think probably doing things. I think doing things to the point of pain, sometimes labor. Yeah, I've known myself to just work and work and work from like just even housework, just trying to have a place, like landscaping and stuff like that. Just doing stuff like that that would try just to try to impress, because supposedly they like that stuff. You know what I mean? Um, and to the point where I could barely like walk at the end of the day, but I did all I needed to do, and everything was cozy. But I was sure in pain, and I'm not going to get into my situation, but yeah, I guess that'd be the best. Yeah, but there was nothing to show for all that hard work, and it was just trying to endear myself to the person, right? And there'd be things off the wall that obviously would have nothing to do with anything that you would think would attract somebody to you, but you're just trying to be your everything. You're their all in all, and I guess try to make yourself so important in their life that it'd be really crazy for them to let you go. Maybe you're handling just so many things and making things so much easier in their life that they have to keep you around. Well, that's not passion. That's not the kind of love that you're going to be hoping for at the end of the day, for sure. What is the most manipulative thing someone can do to you without raising their voice? Hmm. Let's see. Um, I think probably the looks and the comments. People know. I guess yeah. Without saying anything, you guess so. Yeah, you can't. I would say probably just looks. I think people know how to put on a "I'm not happy with you" face for someone who knows them for probably some people probably really short amount of time, but yeah. Um, and you just sometimes you you bend to it, or sometimes in past I found it funny. And you see the face like, oh, this is the face we're doing now. It's like you want to just crack a joke, but yeah. What is the difference between patterns and hope in your life right now? Well, there's no patterns right now. I'm just doing me, you know? Um, but I definitely will be looking for patterns, you know? Yeah, I think just doing the podcast on the patterns and the things, people show you rather than what they say. Some things are so obvious, but we try to hope the best. And you hope it'll be different this time. Um, and that's the thing. You got to watch the patterns. You can't hope against hope all the time for certain things to happen. Some things are not going to happen. And then you have to look at the situation and say, can I live with this way for as long as I have before it's broken and destroyed anyways? Let's see. What would a secure version of you do this week? What would a secure version of you do this week that current you is avoiding? What would the secure you do? Um, mm, I think probably fully just change if it was me in that situation. I think we fully change my mindset where I just can literally just say I don't care. I think that's the greatest gift I can give myself is when I can just be me in the moment every day, all day. Because sometimes you have situations where you have to edit yourself, maybe in business, maybe in relationships. But when you have those moments when you can just be totally genuine, the more moments that you can just be genuine with your day is a successful day for me. And I think I live most of my days where I just say what I think, how I feel. Maybe not necessarily how I feel, but what logic tells me to say. In other words, I'm not trying to edit it to get on somebody's good side. And I like that. If someone could see your private thoughts about this situation, what truth would embarrass you and why? I think in any situation that I've ever dealt with in this type of way, I think that the embarrassing thoughts would be the fact that you knew what it was a long time before you started to consider what you needed to do. In other words, you saw it and it's like you closed your eyes and you looked on the other side and pretended it almost like just fool yourself straight up. And if somebody was seeing your thoughts, it was like, wait a second, you saw that. We know what just happened. Why are you still even talking to this person? You know? So I think that would be it. If somebody could see my private thoughts, it would be like me and that viewer, whoever, has already seen why I need to be about my business and out of there. But for whatever reason, I'm still there, you know? Anyway, if you made it through these questions, you just did something most people avoid. You stopped long enough to look at yourself without excuse. If hopefully you answered the questions yourself. Maybe you had to pause it. I don't know. Anyway, that's rare because most people would rather be comforted than confronted by their own patterns. Here is what I want you to take from this. A lot of people think they are attached to a person, but they are attached to a feeling. The feeling of being chosen in some way, shape, or form of a relationship. The feeling of being wanted, the feeling of being safe for a moment. When the feeling becomes inconsistent, it creates an addiction, not because you are weak, but because your nervous system keeps chasing the return. If you feel undervalued, confused, or like you are shrinking, don't wait for the other person to change your life. Change your access rules. Change what you tolerate. As long as you know what you're tolerating is like that is a hill to die on. Like, that is something of importance. And not even importance, but it's something that needs to be changed by you, right? Like, maybe there's a change that just needs to happen and you need to see it. Change your standards. And if you need to heal like it matters, because it does. Your future self needs you to stop negotiating with the same pain. You know what you're supposed to do. Anyway, this episode 295, you're probably right. Yeah. But I think I could have still gone deeper. But anyways, guys, till next time, take care.
Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while, understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.